Let's stop pretending for a second. The universe isn't testing you anymore. That phase ended the moment you stopped volunteering to prove yourself. I know that sounds almost arrogant, like you just decided to opt out of the curriculum, but give it a minute. You'll know whether this lands. Think of this as a systems update, not a sermon. The older framework depended on your confusion to stay alive. The new one runs on something cleaner, signal instead of noise. It doesn't argue, it doesn't defend, it just moves. So let's unpack where people misread this transition and how to recognize when the old machinery has already powered down. The proof isn't loud, it's energetic, it's calm, it's the end of maintenance mode. Every system reaches a point where staying the same costs more than changing. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks, it creeps in through fatigue. You don't notice it in the moment, you notice the relief after it's over. There's this eerie silence when the inner engine stops grinding. Not an adrenaline rush, just the absence of strain. That's the quiet threshold people often miss. The mind looks for drama, but peace arrives like air clearing after a storm. You don't celebrate it, you just exhale. Here's how the outdated operating loop kept itself spinning. A comment, a pause, a tone. Something small poked at you. Your nervous system flared. Thoughts spiraled. Your body followed. You reacted, then reanalyzed, then scolded yourself for reacting. That self-blame sent you on a scavenger hunt for reassurance. Scrolling messages, replaying words, reading meaning into timing. Then another minor trigger arrived, and the same loop rebooted. Efficient, predictable, draining. You got sophisticated inside that cage. Journaling, affirming, boundary setting, color coding, systematizing. But the machinery didn't care. It kept converting awareness into friction. Each micro breakthrough became another data point for the same circuit. Trigger, analyze, soothe, repeat. You were improving the decoration of a trap. Think of all the optimization. New planners, productivity hacks, better affirmations, structured mornings. Each tweak promised relief, but relief never lasted because the core engine wasn't faulty. It was self-fueling. The attention you fed it became tension. The very act of managing it kept it running. And yes, you got smarter at survival, but survival is still service to the same system. You know exactly where that pattern lived. The message that used to light up your chest. 3 dots, no reply. The heartbeat of waiting, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The scroll, the analysis, the drafted response you never send. Then one day, those same dots appear, disappear, and nothing happens inside. No spike, no story. You move on. You notice it only later. There was no storm to calm, no battle to win. The silence wasn't void. It was neutrality. That's the sign the feedback loop has collapsed. Here's the system's truth. When maintaining a pattern costs more energy than releasing it, the pattern dissolves. It doesn't die dramatically. It simply stops finding buyers for its tension. For months, you kept paying emotional rent through vigilance, control, and fixing. Then your clarity rose quietly, and the old landlord lost income. Without fuel, the loop went bankrupt. Picture holding a beach ball underwater. At first, you feel strong, in control. You're managing it, but your arms burn, your breath shortens. The illusion of control is just effort disguised as stability. The second you release, the ball doesn't fight you. It rises and floats, doing what it always wanted to do. The struggle was your grip, not its weight. The old emotional loop worked the same way. It had no independent power. It borrowed yours. That's why those final months felt heavy and strange. It wasn't that life suddenly became cruel. The old magnet was losing charge. The system was sputtering. You had less to feed it, more rest, fewer lies, smaller reactions. Your baseline coherence rose. You noticed earlier, moved sooner, softened faster. Clarity increased your signal to noise ratio. Less distortion, less fuel for chaos. The loop kept trying to seduce your attention, but you stopped paying the subscription. Now, the question most people ask, what if this is just shutdown? What if I'm numb? That's a valid check. But numbness feels cloudy. Time drags. Responses delay. You say, fine, but nothing moves inside. Avoidance leaves residue. Thoughts you revisit. Messages you reread. Guilt that hums after silence. Real transformation feels crisp. It moves without debate. You feel something, you respond cleanly. You return to baseline. No echo, no fog, just flow. So how do you know when triggers stop firing? 2 clear signs. First, the compulsion disappears. You don't need to check, confirm, prove, or replay. The itch itself is gone, not suppressed, gone. Second, your responses become simple, quick, accurate. You say what needs to be said and your body stays quiet. No flinch, no post-mortem analysis. That combination, no compulsion plus natural precision, signals system maturity. The old loop didn't get conquered. It got retired. That realization raises a new question. If the drama stopped funding your energy, what's running you now? Something must be. There's momentum in your days, but it doesn't come from adrenaline anymore. You feel movement without push. Space opens without struggle. The new system runs on clarity, not proof. The engine feeds itself with presence, not performance. This isn't a motivational phase. It's an energetic reorganization. The new fuel source doesn't beg for confirmation. It just executes. You act from inner alignment, and reality sinks after. The mind resists this. It wants receipts first, reassurance before risk. But in this system, evidence arrives as ease after action. Action is the transmission. Ease is the echo. Of course, your mind protests. If I stop checking, won't I miss something? Won't I mess up? That's the old paranoia of chaos. But what if quiet doesn't mean blind? It means tuned. You actually catch what matters faster because your bandwidth isn't eaten by noise. The constant checking was the interference. Silence isn't ignorance. It's clean data. You no longer interrogate every emotion like it's a crime. Watch your daily life for proof. A friend invites you to something that doesn't resonate. Before, you debate it, justify, delay. Now you send one short no and feel nothing heavy after. No guilt, no mental residue. You didn't suppress. You just stopped enrolling in unnecessary complexity. You reclaimed the hour that overthinking used to steal. In that hour, an idea surfaces. You write it down. It works. Not epic, just right. Space turned creative again because it stopped being defensive. That's system regulation. Early correction prevents chaos. In biology, negative feedback prevents runaway reactions. And clarity serves that same role here. It trims noise before it escalates. You no longer need applause to confirm alignment. Your nervous system tells you in real time. If tension drops after an action, that's truth. If tension spikes, something's off. Adjust early, move on. Think of noise-canceling headphones. They don't erase sound. They sense the wave and produce a countersignal that neutralizes it. Your awareness does that now. It hears the friction early and generates a balancing response. A small rest, an honest word, a short pause. The silence that follows isn't emptiness. It's evidence of alignment. The contrast is stark. The old loop relied on emergencies. It needed deadlines, fights, and spikes to activate energy. It thrived on panic. The new loop reads whispers, tiny tightness before a call, a shallow breath before you open an app. You course correct at that level. A degree of change now prevents a full detour later. That's why life feels lighter. Not because it's easier, but because you intervene early. So how do you recognize that this clean system is in charge? You'll know by texture, not drama. You wake up and there's softness instead of edge. Choices land once, not in your head 5 more times. You send a message and forget it. No internal flinch. Invitations that don't fit feel heavy the moment they touch your field. Not scary, just dense. You can't fake interest. That density is data, a compass pointing away from drain. The softness that replaces it is also data. It guides you toward where energy multiplies. When you decide correctly, attention doesn't orbit the decision. It releases. That's how you know the yes was genuine. No second guessing, no loops, just space. The quiet yes keeps showing up because it doesn't seek permission. It's aligned with the current, not swimming against it. The fewer battles, the fewer crises required to get your attention. Misalignment doesn't hide as easily now. Urgency used to disguise poor fits as opportunities. Charm used to sell you detours. But clarity cuts through theatrics. The instant something mismatched enters your field, it feels like drag. That's your regulator catching the error early. You no longer need the universe to shout. A whisper is enough. Now, about the 3 misreads that pull people back into retaking exams that already ended. They seem small, but they're traps. Confusing calm for numbness, mistaking quiet for absence, and reading fast clarity as ego. Each one can reopen old loops if you don't spot them. First misread, calm equals numbness. You might think, I'm not reacting. Maybe I'm disconnected. But detachment is dull and slow. Calm is alive and responsive. You feel the signal, name it, move, and release. No residue. You can describe your feeling in one clean sentence instead of a novel. That's responsiveness, not apathy. A sharp text comes in. You breathe, decide, reply if needed, and return to your flow. Heart rate normal, attention intact. You didn't bury emotion, you processed it in real time. Shutdown feels foggy, calm feels light. Second misread, fewer signs mean less guidance. You wonder, where are my lessons? But stability needs fewer alerts. When a system self-corrects, it doesn't need divine intervention every 5 minutes. You hydrate before the headache. You rest before collapse. You speak truth before resentment. The quiet isn't emptiness, it's efficiency. Think of a city with smooth traffic, fewer sirens, fewer crashes. It's not asleep, it's working. That's guidance functioning at baseline. Third misread, fast clarity means arrogance. You doubt your own certainty. Who am I to know this quickly? That's a leftover script from the old loop where hesitation proved humility. But fast clarity isn't ego, it's clean signal. You feel the click and act. No bragging, no friction. The test is physical. Do you relax after deciding? If your breath deepens, you're aligned. If tension spikes, recalibrate. The feedback lives in your body, not public approval. And then something profound happens. Permission-seeking dissolves. Your nervous system becomes the authority. Shoulders drop, jaw unclenches, vision clears. You don't need applause because internal consistency is confirmation enough. Adjustments happen early, without guilt or ceremony. Just small pivots. And when something's off, it shows itself immediately. Hesitation, scattered tabs, sudden cravings, mental static. That cluster is enough to tell you, this isn't it. You exit without explaining your exit. You no longer ghost your own instincts. If you've reached this stage, piling on more techniques won't help. The shift is not additive, it's subtractive. You're not optimizing, you're uncluttering. Let the system run as designed. Don't micromanage clarity. Trust the loop. When the signals are clean, life doesn't need to raise its voice. So here's the simplest calibration exercise for the next week. 1 honest yes or no per day. No justification. Say it once. Act once. Observe the drop in resistance. You'll feel the difference. Fewer echoes, less bracing, more creative energy available for real work. You didn't conquer the old pattern. You evolved beyond its ecosystem. Peace isn't a medal for surviving chaos. It's the new baseline from which you operate. You don't have to debate yourself before every step. You just move. Clarity is now your internal climate. Let it regulate everything. Let it choose your pace. The exam ended long ago. You're not being tested. You're being trusted by your own system.